Hi, this is Andy Klein, film editor of City Beat in Los Angeles, and to my left is...
You got the RZA from the almighty Wu-Tang Clan, Bong Bong. And you're about to watch 36 Chambers of Shaolin, Shaw Brothers. There go my boy, Gordon Liu, the master killer.
Yeah, he's starred in a whole bunch of films right in this period, directed by his adopted brother, Liu Chia-liang, who's directed this one, and he's fabulous, and he's still fabulous.
Yeah, see those rings he got on right there? Those are really the original rings you use to practice that hung guard style. I heard Gordon is a real accomplished martial artist in real life, and a Buddhist, Mm-hmm.
And this sequence, which has no direct relation, this is really could not exist at the beginning of the story. This is just showing us the real stuff.
Right, showing his talent. What? Look at that, tiger style. 5 elements, man. What's so cool about Gordon is that he's actually from this movie and many other movies one of my favorite kung fu fighters of all.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's just at the top rank. I think for almost everybody, because and some of it helps that he was in so many great films. There's some guys who are good who didn't get to be in a lot of good films, but this whole run of Shaw Brothers stuff he was in from, I guess, the mid-'70s throughout the '80s.
How old do you think he is in this film right here? I always wondered.
He was 23 when this was made.
Wow. You watch Liu Chia movies, one thing you notice is that, not only did he keep the traditional weapons, but he also used traditional, real kung fu styles. It's remarkable abilities. But,
you see him in Kill Bill 1, and he doesn't look that much older.
Nah, you're right about that.
In the second one, he looks older because the makeup. But, yeah, I've seen interviews with him, and the guy, now he looks 35.
Exactly.
Now that he's 55 or something.
Must have a good diet. Shaolin diet. Liu Chia-liang, or how do you pronounce it?
Okay, I learned it with the Cantonese, which is Liu Chia-liang, and this is always a problem when you're talking about these films because there's the Cantonese and the Mandarin, and sometimes there's variant names. So I was taught to say Liu Chia-liang, but then to say Gordon Liu, even though it's Liu and Lao are supposed to be the same thing. So forgive my inconsistency, because that's just the way I know how to do it.
Man, this is one of their brothers as well.
Who is that?
Liu Chia-liang.
Ah, okay. It's weird, because even when I try and study real closely, here's how you should pronounce this. When I actually hear the name spoken in Chinese, it still doesn't sound like that. It still doesn't sound
right. It's like, it's low lay, really low lay.
Yeah. And you hear, if you hear somebody mention him, you're going to go, who did he say?
I remember when I first watched this movie, it gave me a chance to see a whole different aspect of history going on in a different part of the world. I was young, maybe not even 6th grade even yet.
Wow. Where were you? Where'd you see it?
Seen it in New York, Staten Island in New York. And never seen this kind of cinematography or nothing beyond, the Greek myths and the Hercules and all that. Other than that, I never seen something that was, based on 1,500 years of history, and knowing that these type of things went on and this kind of ability. I actually thought that Chinese people could jump that high, what I mean? Because I never seen it.
Wait a minute, you mean they can't? Oh, you've smashed an illusion I've got.
Man.
So you were you saw this at. Well, it wouldn't be a drive-in on Staten Island, would it? It would be like a downtown.
No, the first time I seen this was not in the movie theater. So the first time I seen this one was on television, which was a great opportunity to see it. You know what I mean? And then I later saw it in the movies because they had 3 or 4 runs in New York.
Mm-hmm. Was this like Times Square kind of theaters?
Yeah, Times Square, 42nd Street. Now, you see these guys here, the soldiers? Originally we saw the dub version, you know what I mean? And they call them the Mongols. I noticed here on the subtitle they call them the Tartars.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think it's just different names for the same ethnic group.
Okay.
Mongolia. But I'm actually not sure exactly whether the Tartars are a specific group within that.
Okay.
I only know it from other kung fu movies. I never studied the history outside of the movies.
This is the scene right here. I remember watching this film for the first time, right? And this is the scene that just had my jaw drop. Right here it is.
Yeah.
That's Lo Lei there also.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Lo Lei.
I know he's the villain in this. I didn't.
So he's the king boxer.
Yeah. I always liked him better playing bad guys. I mean, he could do good guys.
Yeah, but he's a bad guy.
But he's got that look.
One of the most famous Hong Kong actor, Alexander Fuxing. He was an actor who actually became a student of Lau's. And Lau personally taught him the tiger crane form of the Hung Gar style. And in every movie that Fuxing played in, not every movie, but 80% of his movie, that's the style that he used. So I think what makes him such a unique individual, even if you watch a movie like Mad Monkey, he knows the monkey style. Mm-hmm. He knows the drunken style. And Lau brings the authenticity of these styles and ideas to his films.
The first Shaw Brothers movie and the first Kung Fu movie that got a reasonable release in the U.S., which was, here it was Five Fingers of Death, but really King Boxer.
Yeah.
He, Lo Lei, was sort of the handsome young leading man in that film, but for various reasons, and I think just his look is part of it. He's so good at playing bad guys, and eventually the role he's most identified with, which is the white eyebrow priest,
right.
She did like 4 times, 5 times.
He, I think, also, he opened up the market for Shaw Brother films, definitely in around, outside of Asia. And when the young stars started coming up, he already had the significant face to bring that audience in, and the maturity of his face. He did demand him to be a bad guy. He's also a very mean looking cat when he gets mad. Look at him.
I mean, he's born to scowl.
Born to scowl. I like that. Wow. See, what also struck me for this movie and this scene is, even the technique of it shows you how good a fighter a man could be. Here is one hand, and he's still holding his own, holding his swords to the side. Is anything cooler than that? I think also what made this film unique is that when you see the martial art in it, these are real fighters, you know what I mean? Like, they know martial art, not just actors. And that made a big difference. If you watch a lot of the old films, there's just, Jimmy Wang Yu, for instance, who's a great actor, but never took martial training. But in these movies, they hire real martial artists. And I think what made this movie also very special is that the director is a renowned martial artist. And he's also the fight choreographer who started many movies ever since, if you go back to the Heroic Ones, or if you go back to the Savage Five, all the 1972, 73 films that Chang Che directed, he was his action choreographer. And then finally, he got a chance to make his own movies with the Shadow Boxer and the Spiritual Boxer. He got a chance to direct his own films. And he brought that traditional Hung family martial art to the widescreen. And if you notice, the first weapon you see
loves that
in this movie is that big axe, which is one of the 18 weapons of the Shaolin used. His 18 famous weapons. And throughout his movies, he always introduced those weapons.
Yeah, well, when he was working with Chang Che had, I think, different priorities. He loves the spurting blood, and he loves that kind of, I won't say faked up, but the slow motion and the cutting, whereas Lau Kar-leung really is so much more serious about the martial arts aspect of it. I mean, he cares about a degree of authenticity, which I don't think Chang Che, I mean, that just wasn't what he was interested in.
I agree with you on that. I think Chang Che, if he was interested in it, it's because he had the action choreographing of Lao. But also, if you notice, Lao, he goes maybe 8 strikes before, whereas Chang Che may do 4 or 6. But Lao, he'll do 8 to 12 movements before he cut the film, and that means you have to really know your routines.
Yeah, no, I mean he's really concerned with showing the moves in a real way, and like I say, I mean he actually, particularly in a film like this, really cares about representing the styles properly,
right?
And I mean, one of the things that in this film, not only, I mean, in Chang Che films, you don't generally have a romance. Occasionally you do. But here you not only don't have a romance, you really don't have that many significant side characters. This is really single-mindedly a movie about this guy and why he had to go get training and how he got training.
Right.
I mean, training sequences are one of the staples of these movies, but in this one, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, it's like the whole film is training. In fact, it's a little under half.
Right.
It's that middle half of the film. It's like 50 minutes or so that's straight out nothing but training.
Sequence.
And that should have been, it should have overstayed its welcome, but it doesn't. It's just like such interesting stuff.
Yeah. I think he really did his research. I had a chance to visit Shaolin.
Oh, wow.
And some of the training techniques that they're doing are still taught today in one form or another. Hey, that's Wilson Tung.
Mm-hmm.
He plays in a lot of these Shaw Brother movies, but his footwork, he doesn't really show it too much in this film, but this guy has the most delightful footwork and techniques you ever could see. Wilson Tung. And he's always a bad guy. He has that face also. But hey, Lao Kao, I like to say Liu Chia-liang.
Okay,
that's what I grew up. Liu Chia-liang, I
yeah.
think, man, is definitely one of the greatest, not only martial art directors, but directors. You know what I mean? He's been very influential to my eyes and to my ears and to my music. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I met one of his disciples from out of upstate New York, and they promised me that I'll get a chance to meet him, and I could get a chance to personally thank him. And I better be on the move because he is reaching elder years.
Yeah, he is. I think he's about 70 now. And although, again, the last time I saw him, the guy just looked in great shape and had this energy level that I'm gravely jealous of.
Bong bong. And then still at the end of this film, he gives you one of the best fight sequences ever recorded. And he himself delivers it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're waiting from that through that film, waiting for him to really, because he cuts loose a little at the beginning and then he holds back for.
And when he goes at the end, the end fight sequence is one of my inspirations for a lot of things I've done when I do my own videos, because it's just how he filmed it was so unique. It's kind of unique also. You see that Gordon Liu has, a lot of hair, and he actually shaved his head for this movie. Now I've read somewhere that he's a real monk, so I don't know if did he was he shaving as a monk, and he always wore wigs. But in all the films that he played in prior to this, you never seen him bald headed. Mm-hmm. And once he coined this character and coined himself as the monk, who I think he is in real life, he just became the master killer. When you seen that bald-headed man, you knew, something was going down. Yeah,
I mean, the first couple times I saw him in films where he had hair, which generally was, even if it was later, it was a wig or something, I don't think I recognized him until 2/3 through the film, because you just are so used to seeing him totally shaved. And, that's part of the plot here, is him getting his hair cut.
And you know what's funny? When he cuts his hair, right, there's a guy in my neighborhood named Doolills, right? He looks just like Master Killer. He's black. His eyes are slanted up like this. And he has he looks just like him. We used to call him Master Killer as well. It was funny for us.
No, wait, who do we have there?
He plays in a lot of films, but I can't recall his name right now.
I'm waiting to see him full on face. Oh, well, so much for that.
And this guy, he always plays the soft guy. One interesting thing is you see how, you know, this film is showing how the students is getting involved with the revolution, shall we say. And, you know, for me as a kid watching this and kind of knowing a little bit about the civil rights movement and the colleges and the people that got involved, it also kind of gave me the realization that this is just man's history and all around the world, different parts of the world. And that was another reason why I really became attached to the film, to see him strive to fight oppression of his people. You know what I mean? But he's a middle-class guy. His family's doing well. He has no reason to feel the oppression because he's eating well. But he's seeing what's happening to his people, so he just threw himself involved, not knowing the consequences, of course. Shaolin Temple.
We're watching this. They're speaking in Mandarin, I think, not Cantonese, which I believe this was shot in Mandarin, and I'm not sure why, because generally
Cantonese is the main language, right?
Yeah, and it looks like the Mandarin is matching the lips. I actually did an A/B comparison, flipping channels on the version I had, and Mandarin would go in and out of style in Hong Kong films, sometimes for political or economic reasons, but sometimes I don't know why, because this really was pretty close to when Cantonese was the great majority of Hong Kong film production.
Wow, I wasn't aware of that. Thanks. Hey, have you noticed the soundtrack yet? Have you been noticing it?
The music?
Yeah.
You got something to say about it? What about it? Cause
it's like I love how they always stab their scenes and they accent their scenes, the way they use their music, sparsely but effectively. I actually kind of learned a lot of my composing style from watching these movies as well.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the music in Shaw Brothers films is
the same, right?
Well, it's also a lot of it's lifted from stuff, and I would say it's like what you were doing in Kill Bill, except that they weren't paying anybody any royalty. I mean, they were just like
they didn't have a budget
stuff.
for it.
Yeah, that's it's a tradition in these films that, because I guess, before they started getting imported here, and even after they did, nobody in Hollywood was going to notice that they lifted this hunk of a track out of some action film here.
Right, from a spaghetti western or something, right? On this scene right here, I think this guy is so stupid. He could have got away, man. Watch this. See, that's what you messed up at. Every time I watch this film, I was like, "You stupid bum! Why you had to shake the fish?"
To prove a point to the audience.
A lot of Liu Chia-liang's ideas in comedy, of course, has always been unique, especially if you get Wang Yu to act for him. Once you got Wang Yu in the movie, he really takes it to the comedy level, and as well he did with Gordon Liu in Return to the 36 Chambers. But when he got a hold of Shao, the actor who plays Mad Monkey, they did so much comedy together. You know what I'm saying? Especially My Young Auntie, as we was mentioning earlier, that is basically a terrific comedy. Though the story is lightly based. Of course, there's many authors in China that wrote a lot of books about this era of time, and it's lightly based on a true story of a monk named Sante, who some legends say exists, some legends say didn't exist. Maybe they said he was also just a character in many of the I forgot the author's name, Lai Pu.
I know who you mean. I'm forgetting.
Okay, but he wrote a lot of books, and his books became like the theme for screenplays. But the priest Sante and Hong Si Kwang, who Hong Si Kwang is a real live Chinese hero, is supposedly learned this kung fu from the monk Sante.
Well, I mean, I can't really. It's funny because if there was a period where when I first discovered some of these are real characters, and I got very concerned about that, and then when I realized that in a lot of movies, they're really taking the character's name and one or two details. I mean, in Drunken Master, where Jackie Chan's supposed to be Wong Fei Hung, but it really has nothing to do with Wong Fei Hung other than borrowing his name.
Exactly.
Now, Lau Kar-leung, the director here, is famously kind of descended as a student, not by blood, from Wong Fei Hung, because I guess his father, Lau Kar-leung, learned from his father, who learned from the fat character in all the Wong Fei Hung movies, the Magnificent Butcher, yeah, and who had learned from Wong Fei Hung, because Wong Fei Hung's not that far in the past. It's like turn of the century,
maybe 1903, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I would think also with Lau Kao's direction, he's, as you see, he's very meticulous about the martial art. I think he's probably more meticulous about the historical facts as well.
He may be.
And I had a chance to talk to some Shaolin monks and some Wu-Tang monks as well. Yep. And they did describe to me that some of the stuff was fiction, but there was a white brow priest.
Wow.
There was this monk Sante. There was certain monks that existed, that lived, and their story's been written over and over and over, of course, and exaggerated and put into. But there's some facts to it, and some facts is just all movie magic.
Is there actually tension still between the Shaolin and Wu-Tang?
Actually, he said that's a fiction. There was never no tension between the two. That was all movie magic. I
believed it because it happened so much.
Actually, went to Wu-Tang with the Shaolin monk. The truth of the matter is that a monk named Chang Sang Fei supposedly migrated from Shaolin to Wu-Tang. I mean, he was and engulfed himself in Taoism and helped build the legend of that place. So Shaolin is, and Wu-Tang is actually the same. It's just two different methods of doing the same thing. One starts external and one starts internal.
Well, one of the things that you know a whole lot more about than I do is, I mean, in the Shaolin martial arts films, one of the things that's different from a lot of action films is there is this emphasis in between the fights. There's this emphasis on other aspects of the lifestyle and on, sort of thought and philosophy and all that, which you don't see in, like, many American Westerns or something, which would be the equivalent generally. And they don't sit and talk about the way of peace or something.
Right. That's what made this film also such one of my classics. So here's where his whole family's, his father's killed. And, he tried to help, but sometimes helping gets you nowhere. Don't be sad. The same for mine, so. And Lau, he's definitely been recognized as one of Hong Kong's greatest directors. He's one who started as a choreographer, and he had to work beside people like Tang Chia. At first, he didn't have his own, and there's always 2 or 3 guys with him, you know what I mean?
I actually took notes and timed like how long the segments were and stuff, and it's not as, I think, as I said before, it's not nearly as much training as we think, because there's this, it's like a half hour before he gets to the temple, all this establishing stuff, and then basically, I guess 4 or 5 minutes before he starts actually formally training at the temple, and then 50 minutes until he leaves, and another, 20, I guess, 25 or 30 minutes after that. So it's but would you really remember? I mean, because it's
yeah, the training is so significant. You start thinking it's only a training movie. But I think that's what makes this movie one of the best, is that it does start off, you know, with a great story, and you actually fall into love with these characters. You know what I mean? You feel sympathy for them. You know, their families are dead. They on the run. They started out as class clowns. You know. So I think that's what makes this movie so great, is that the story, you know, of this man's journey is followed, you know, through maybe about 8 years in total, 8 to 10 years in total.
Yeah. And you mentioned the class clowns thing. One of the things that I love about Liu Chia-liang's movies is that he's really, really a funny guy, and this is one of his most serious movies, and still there's funny stuff. There's a certain kind of... In the training stuff, it's not like there are a lot of big belly laughs, but it's really clever, and it's really witty and stuff. But he, you know, when he cuts loose in a comedy, it's just he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
I mean, in fact, we should mention there's the sequel, the first sequel to this, Return to the 36th Chamber.
That's a comedy.
Which is taking basically the same material and redoing it completely as comedy, and I love that. In fact, to tell you the truth, I actually love that a little more than this one, just because it's got a lot of the same stuff and it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
And one of the things about the training in this that I think other people have done since, but at the time I'm not sure it had been done. Frequently when we get the training sequences, it's like learn this style, learn that style, but there's nothing there that the audience can directly relate to. It's just like you're learning things. Here, all the learning that he does, all those lessons, are things where it's cleverness, it's attitude. It's not just mastering some physical skill. It's him, and you can always see on Gordon Liu's face, you can see him thinking and working out, wait a minute, this is the way to do this.
But yeah, I think his acting, if this movie was an American movie, I think he would be up for an Oscar. You know what I mean?
He's consistently good, and some of it, again, I remember when I was first seeing these, some of it was difficult for me to get into the style of it, because it tends to be a much more melodramatic, kind of emphatic way of acting that, you know, American films go a little more kind of realistic and naturalistic in the acting style, but once you're used to that in martial arts movies, it becomes really, you know, deeply affecting. Right,
then you see who's good at it and who's not good at it. Like, he starts with the walk, you know, now as he loses his garments, his walk is down to this, his makeup is getting worse, his mouth is shy. He even looks skinnier.
Yes, he does. I wonder why. That's good.
And then look, now he's on the stick. That's one thing I think that the Asian cinema I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. One is they just told you about 3 or 4 months worth of time in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I was actually, when I was first watching this, I remember being confused by that, because it looked like he was, you know, it's like the sort of trick cut. And also his leg, if he's gone very far, his leg should have
rotted off by now.
Fallen off. Yeah, the gangrene should have set in by now.
He's a famous director as well. I like how they do that, where they have, you know, an actor be a director. I think that's Chu-young there.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. That I think you're right, because I remember him mostly from Police Story, I guess it is, where he's the bad guy in that. And yeah, there's a lot of crossing lines here. I mean, almost every Hong Kong director has done some little
acting
bit.
or fighting.
There's, you know, John Woo does his little bits in his films, and there's one film that he didn't direct where he's the central character, which I've never seen.
There's one other John Woo film that I had a chance to talk to him about. He did a kung fu movie called Last Hurrah for Chivalry.
Yeah, that's great.
Great movie.
Great movie. And funny. I mean,
and
really
funny.
Great,
and
funny,
exactly.
stuff.
And we had the snake from the Five Deadly Venoms in there. Mm-hmm. And we also had our buddy, who was the opposing monk, the Gordon,
Lee Hoi-san.
Yeah, Lee Hoi-san. He played the villain in that one.
Mm-hmm. That's a film that I first saw on bad video and just went, "What's the big deal?" And then I saw it on the big screen, and it was just beautiful.
Now we know that Gordon Liu went on to be a great Asian star, world star after this movie. This propelled his career. But if you look carefully, you'll see a lot of these young guys became Shaw Brother stars. Even one of the guys in this film is a Five Deadly Venom.
Really? Which?
If they give you a closer, I'm gonna point them out. That's what's so cool is that these characters was young, and as they grew, they became. Here you'll see when the basket falls. I mean, no, not Five Deadly. He's the Mad Monkey. He's a Five Venom right there. The guy that just took that basket. That's Mad Monkey. You ever seen Mad Monkey Kung Fu?
Yeah.
That's him right there. Bald-headed.
Wow. I've seen it, but that's one.
He's a little kid there.
That's one of the first ones I saw back in, I guess, the 80s. But yeah, the Shaw Brothers had this, such a studio system thing where everybody's under contract and you're a big star, but they need a supporting player in this other film and you're in between, so you end up doing it. You
think that was good, or it was great business probably, but probably hard on the actors, you think?
Oh, I think hard on the actors. I think it was aesthetically pretty good because you get, it's really good for people to keep working. I mean, it's one thing when they're filming 9 different films at once and they can't figure out which movie they're in,
right.
which was true there, and I think was true even more in Hong Kong production in the 80s, in the post-Shaw Brother period, where, Chow Yun-fat would be doing 4 films at once, and 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. And
right.
I have no idea how people keep straight who they're playing.
Now, I remember seeing this for the first time. When you see the length of a martial art, open his eyes and he sees where he's at, and this, he sees this place, all these monks in this temple. My first time I saw this, I kind of felt like him because this was also a whole new world to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this is a character that I actually walked through with him on this movie. It's not the average length of a martial art film. Usually these films was cut down to America for 90 minutes and that was it.
Yeah.
And this is maybe 110 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, was the American release? Did they not cut for the American release?
They cut about 4 or 5 of the training sequences originally. I mean, on the TV version, but in the theaters they let it live.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those unfortunate things that, they have a TV slot that's 2 hours and you better come in between whatever it is, 90 and 94 minutes or they're just not going to run it.
Right. Seeing all this, look at this. This is the first time I've seen Buddhist monks and their ideas and their philosophy,
When you were first watching, to what degree was it, I mean, because these films blend the philosophy and the physical action stuff so well, I mean, was it the combination that really got to you? Or just...
Yeah, well, first, of course, is always just the action. Mm-hmm. In this particular film, it's a great story, it's a great movie, and the action is great as well. But the second time I seen this film, it was it all. It was the combination of philosophy, the martial arts scenes, and like I said, even the cinematography of it was unique to me. The lighting, if you look at it, how they did their thing. It just to me, it was a world of its own, and a world I've never been to. That's probably made of wood. Those urns, and it looks like heavy metal.
Well, some of this is, I mean, one of the advantages of the Shaw Brothers system was, they built this studio that had, the temple set and the main street in the period town set and all these things that you see in...
That's what the comment. Yeah. This is the first time we see him bald-headed. Mm-hmm. And I like how the director introduced him, you know, because really, being in America, you don't recognize all the Asian faces, and we finally get to recognize them. Liu Chia-liang is one of the most unique, and at one point underrated. You know, now his credibility has come back strong. He was underrated for a while, and I didn't like that. You know what I mean? I was rooting for him.
There's that period right before Drunken Master 2 when he sort of hadn't. I don't think he'd been working steady.
No, just maybe pedicab driver with Sammo Hung was his.
Which is
another great one, right?
My favorite fight scenes ever. And Lau brought. I mean, he's just beautiful in that scene. His face. I mean, he's just his absolutely patient, undisturbed look as he's demolishing Sammo all over the place is just wonderful. Were there? Trying to think if there were movies. If Shaolin was exposed before this.
Well, there was a few movies by Chang Che that did talk about Shaolin Temple, but this was the one that took it international because he had the Shaolin Temple, which was later retitled Death Chambers, and he had the 5 masters from Shaolin, which remained the same title, which was Fu Xing and David Chiang, Ti Lung, Monk Fei, and Chong Quan Tai.
Right. Even though there's some humor in those films, I can't picture Chang Che making a comedy really as funny as Return to the 36th Chamber or My Young Auntie.
My Young Auntie, right?
Yeah, which is hilarious. Or even Executioners from Shaolin, which is not basically a comedy, but the early scenes, I mean, and the marriage in the film is very important, which, Chang Che could really kind of care less about. I mean, it's just not really in his movies in any real way.
Only way you see a male-female relationship in Chang Che movies is in a brothel, in a whorehouse. Yeah. This part here, I think, is a very important part of the film, and really, this is one of the parts of the movie that inspired, I would say, my life. Let's listen to the dialogue or read the dialogue they're saying. I had it in English, so it was different for me, but even if you read it, I think you'll still get some of the meat of it. Ashley was a believer that you could do this what he does.
One of the crucial things here is he's there thinking he's there to learn to fight.
Right.
And in fact, he's,
this is beyond fighting.
Yeah, they make it so that that's an aspect or a side effect almost of what he's learning.
That's true. No sight, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sense. The 5 flavors, though, the taste. The 5 tones deafen the ear. The 5 colors blind the eye.
Is this close to the original?
Yeah, it's close.
The dubbed version?
It cannot be. But it won't pass it. It is invisible in audio, it said in English. Without wisdom, no gain. With no wisdom, no gain. And it is not continual. Yeah, it is invisible and inaudible and inexhaustible. Can you hear the sound of the bells? We hear nothing. How long have you studied the sutras?
There we go. So did you do this with your friends? Were you doing these lines back and forth to each other? And
no, not really. But I definitely pointed the information out to some of my brothers, like the point they were trying to get to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And I guess when you first saw this, it's actually a little bit before home video was readily available.
Oh, home video. Beta didn't even hit yet.
Right.
And to have one of those, you had to be rich.
Mm-hmm. a couple of years later, I got a beta, and of course now I've regretted it for life because I've got a box full of stuff that's really good that
can't be used.
I can't keep getting the machine fixed. It gets more and more expensive. Here we go.
Now, mind you, it hasn't been a kung fu fight in how long?
At least, 15...
At least
15 minutes, actually more.
And that's what makes this a unique film as well. I think that's why it makes it one of the classics, is that it ain't just about the fighting and the movements. And when he does do the first movement that he learns after trying to cross the log, it just, it's a wire trick, but it was the most unique wire trick to date when it comes up.
I know we spend the longest amount of time on this because it's the first one we see.
It's the foundation, yeah.
Though it's not the first chamber, is it? Or it's the first one we see, but does it have a different number?
I think this is basically chamber 1.
Oh, it is the first chamber. Yeah, okay, I got that written down. But after this, they don't go in order.
Nuh-uh. You know what's unique about this one, though? In Buddhism, to get enlightenment, you have to do what? Cross the river.
Oh.
And in the foundation here, this first stop is crossing that little water properly and making it to the other side. So a pure body is light, step stable, stance is firm. See, it says don't enter if you're dirty. In English, it said don't enter unless you are clean-edged or dry to the end. Mm-hmm. So that kind of, makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, it's different. That was actually sort of nice having that little tracking shot along that did all the tables. Now, the music clearly signals that this is kind of a funny thing, yeah. And I'd really like to know if that was music composed for the film or if it was something.
Somebody threw it in there.
Yeah, because as every once in a while, I make the wrong calls on that.
Been all done.
Where I think it's some track they've lifted and it's not.
My gut feeling for this film, I don't know from watching it so many times, but it feels like it's so accurate that it could have been all done intentionally, like put in where it's supposed to be. Where some films is definitely not in the right place.
Well, Shaw Brothers would do this really, fast. They had great post-production facilities, but they were making, in this period, I think they're making about 40 films a year.
Wow.
And of course, that's not all martial arts films. I don't know the percentage. Yeah, but there's there's musicals and spy films and cop movies and everything. Martial arts, I think, was by far the biggest genre by this time, but I'm not sure really what the numbers were.
Now, what's coming up here is one of the problems that probably kept some audiences away from kung fu films, which is the rice looked thick, right? Mm-hmm. Now watch how soupy this rice gets when he stands on this thing. Who the hell did the continuity?
Yeah.
This is bad continuity on this one.
Hey, RZA, have you ever tried to balance on wood that way?
It's funny you ask because not that way, but you seen the scene when he had the 2 buckets rolling? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried that. I tried to get 2 buckets and roll them, and the buckets are definitely actually easier than the wood on the water, I would say. Yeah. There's actually a movie he does later. There's a move that Liu going to do in this movie that Kid and Play took as one of their dance steps. When it comes up, I'm gonna show it to you. It's actually it was the like I said, it was a very unique wire trick and the best of its time.
Well, I know that this stuff, like all your musical enterprises, or a lot of them are bound up with this stuff. But is that true? Are there other?
Yeah, hip hop has been strongly influenced by martial art films. Break dancers, the breakers, the dancers, Grandmaster Flash. You know what I mean? So even the names, you know what I mean? Poison Clan, Wu-Tang Clan. It's been a lot of influence of these films into hip hop. Like you said, being that the black community was very into them.
It's really, yeah, where I say it was when I was living in the Bay Area back then, and it was,
The black brothers up in
about
the spot.
3/4, it was the black kids who were, and I mean, they were they were 14, 15, and they were, just completely, they're all very seriously studying Kung Fu and everything. And it just seemed to strike, a much more personal chord for them.
Right. There's also significant there's significant history. We won't get into it now. There's significant history even about the foundation of martial art in Shaolin coming from Bodhidharma, and Bodhidharma being actually migrated tribe called the Dravidians, who actually migrated, they say, from Africa into South India during the time of Amun Ra. Amun Ra actually was a man and had a family who went throughout Egypt, Africa, into Asia, building all these statues to identify his not his conquering, but his influence. And they say because some of the animals that the animal styles that's used by the monks were not animals that was normally found in those areas.
Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I knew this stuff came up from India, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because Amun Ra to me is a name out of a couple horror movies.
Right.
Stuff. It's.
Okay, this is it right here. This scene right here, after no kung fu for 15 minutes? Mm-hmm. And then we got this scene right here, which just brings you right back into what kind of film you're watching. He was the man after that. Look at all the monks. He's like, hey, he's great, Santa. He's great. He's the man.
No, that's a great bit. And that's, I suspect some wires were.
Yeah, that definitely was a wire scene. And that move, when he jumps over his leg, Kid and Play does that in their videos, and they're dancing. One of their biggest hits, actually. And it was the same thing, actually. You have the first place we saw it was here, and then we seen it maybe, a few months later by these dancers, Kid and Play.
Return to 36th Chamber. I'm assuming that's where Karate Kid came out of. I mean, you get, sort of the same notion of you think you're not learning and you are,
learning.
That you've sort of been tricked into learning more than you could have. But
I can see that. You know what's interesting also? You watch this movie closely, right? You'll notice some of the monks, even the ones that we saw with the that carry the basket for them, you'll notice that some of them are also growing with them as time go on. You'll see them in the chamber with them. You'll see those two guys was in chamber 1 with them or chamber 5 with them. They're also improving. There they go. He's getting Mad Monkey again. He always plays the blind guy in many movies. The dumb and blind and deaf guy. In the Billy Chung movies. I don't know if you know the Billy Chung movies, but he's this actor here. What I noticed, being a person who read a lot of martial art books and studied a little bit, is that Liu was very practical in taking some of the kung fu styles, putting them in a choreograph, and using the actual movement of the style to make it make sense to his choreographing. So if there's a stance in the tiger, for instance, the dragon stance that, you cross your legs and you turn back open, when he called that stance out, that's the way the stance really goes. And when he did it, it was able to make a strike out of it instead of just being, just a move for camera. Now I have to admit that translation was better than the English.
In the dub,
yeah, that was better martial information for a martial artist right there. In the English version, he kind of just paraphrased that, keep it moving, steady, speed, and balance. But there he told you there's not only the speed and balance of your body, it's the focus of your mind as well. Leading your body one step ahead of yourself, I guess is what your mind leads the body before the body moves. And it's in a millisecond,
Well, it's amazing that, the dubbing, you get to have the sound of the voice and the expression, all these other things that help. Having the words and the expression be together rather than separate like this.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have to try and make the lips come fairly close to matching. So things get cut and chopped, and sometimes you do lose meaning.
Some essential meanings. You heard that glitch right there? Did you hear that glitch? That glitch is in every copy.
Really? It's like
that glitch is in every copy. What do you think, Wire? Power, balance, speed.
Yeah, as I was saying before, I mean, I was coming when I was first seeing, the kids took me to see these films in these theaters in Oakland, and I was coming from this like sort of film student watching, Fellini films and stuff, all the stuff where you would never think of watching it dubbed, and the spaghetti westerns kind of being an exception to that because they.
Did a great job.
And also the fact that, the most popular spaghetti westerns here were all ones that had American stars who were in fact doing their own English, so it wasn't as jarring that way. But for me, the dubbing always added this kind of campy layer that. And if I didn't think it was campy, the fact that there'd be people in the audience around me
laughing,
who were sort of laughing at, this person's overacting, and it just made it really difficult for me to see these films for what they were. And it wasn't until I began to get some access to subtitled versions. So for me, that was a big issue. For you,
yeah, for me the dubbing. Well, like I said, for me, Shaw Brothers dubbing was the best dubbing of all. There are a lot of martial art films from lower production companies that could ruin a film. I've seen films where the sound effects was late. There's nothing worse than a late sound effect.
That'll completely throw you out of the film. Yeah.
But being such a what I would call a kung fu fiend, I tolerated a lot of things. I've seen movies where they showed the reels out of order. But being such a geek for it, I still stayed and watched it twice. You know what I mean? So I kind of was maybe too infatuated by it to notice any real errors. You know what I mean? Besides some of the continuity things.
When you were seeing these in the theater, these were theaters that were like running them, just basically like a double or triple bill being repeated over and over.
Over and over. It'll start around 10 a.m. maybe, and it'll go until 2 or 3 in the morning. And it's just running 3 movies with a few trailers, and
so you could like go in and watch it twice if you wanted to. Yeah,
I used to get there at 10 o'clock in the morning and leave around 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And only way I wouldn't watch it twice if it's corny. You know what I mean? For instance, when they have a movie from 1972 up against a 1977, 78, the 77s and 78s was so more advanced because you had directors like Lau Kau, and you had directors like Chang Che on the top of their game. So it really made a difference than watching one-armed swordsman, which is great. Now I watch those now for cinematography purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I think visually one-armed swordsman is
incredible. Visually,
one of my favorite
casting,
Shaw Brothers. Yeah,
characters, weapons. Only thing it lacked is choreograph. You know what I mean? And I come to find that it still was Lau doing them, but he was young, and he didn't have the freedom that he had when he started directing his own film and casting his own films.
Yeah, like I say, I think you really do see the difference almost instantly in his movies from the stuff he was doing for Chang Che, because he wasn't really finally calling the shots in those movies.
Yeah. This is the important. To me, this is one of the important chambers here.
弟子来习武艺，不是。你别太小看这些竹竿儿。指挥是。
Now, a lot of the chambers, you notice, like the one he just did, but prior to this was in and out, not even 1 minute. They gave this chamber here more play. And it shows why, towards the end of the film, when he had to fight with that spear,
right,
he had no problem dealing with the villain.
Yeah, I'm not sure the total number of chambers there's a bunch that we see in a montage, and then there's, I guess, 4 or so that we see in really great detail. But we still clearly do not see all 35.
No way at all.
现在一丈，再进2尺。
Now, I've seen versions of this film where this chamber was later.
Huh.
That's something that's
Took
also
it out of order?
Yeah, I seen the chambers out of order, and of course I seen versions where some of the chambers are totally missing. Yeah, I'm quite sure this is it's not the real thing.
It may be a real pole, but then the weight is probably like, I don't know if it's paper mache, but I'm sure it's much lighter because, you know, even if Gordon Liu can do this, can he do it for 10 takes in a row? You know, I mean,
exactly.
You can't do everything perfectly authentically. So I'm assuming.
继续练。
继续练。The interesting thing is that he's banging on the bell because it's part of their meditation. You know what I mean? To keep the vibrations going. Mm-hmm. And if he don't continue banging on the bell, it disturbs their meditation. This is why they have a line of monks that if he fails, the next one got to come because they're meditating and chanting. Now, in the early days watching this particular chamber, this was one of the most annoying chambers for a lot of the first viewers. You know what I mean? Like, I remember watching it with different people because it's just the bong, 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 bong.
I think the fact there's like this sort of rhythm act going on is really great.
I'm glad you like it. A lot of people I watched it with, they always had a problem with this chamber. See how now the time has elapsed. You see the different wrists all worse from, you know, how long have he been there now. That's not even him, look, that's another monk. But it's showing the level of where they at now. Now here he comes. That's the same Mad Monkey guy. Got it now. That'd be a good thing for a boxer, right?
Mm-hmm. And this is all, he's got the stance and he's got the right arm position.
He got it. He loves it. The one stance he does next is actually a sword holding stance. That's a good.
I love that the abbot's grinning when he does that to him.
In this film, 36 Chambers, we see a lot of training and we see a lot of discipline and really human struggle. And in a lot of Liu Chia-liang films, he does incorporate training sequences, but not like the old 16mm Kung Fu movies where, you know, they're just doing something that's not really real. You know, he always incorporates some real ideas into it. And, I think that's because he's a trained martial artist. He knows that the key to perfection is practice.
And at the same time, he never makes it look like it's just easy. I mean, it's always, these sequences in his films always make it clear that you get hurt, you have to put yourself through something. This doesn't just, it's not just like somebody's talented and boom, they can do it. It's really both from inner qualities and, outer
applications, basically. Yeah. Inner qualities and outer applications. You know what's interesting also? In this particular film, we watching the character goes through the training. I think one of the best American training films is Rocky, of course. Mm-hmm. He shows the strength. And I wouldn't be surprised if they took a little from Rocky.
Yeah, because Rocky's, 76, I guess?
Yeah, so 76. I wouldn't be surprised, if this had some kind of influence on it. But the unique thing about this one is that, we're seeing him consciously go through training and chambers to perfect his body. But there's another film done earlier by Chang Che called Shaolin Temple, where is more like Karate Kid. This is actually 1974, 75. This film was made, and there's one guy. All he does is stir the soup. You know what I mean? But it made him a pole. It made him strong using a pole. So they had different guys doing different things, and it helped them miraculously later on in their lives. You know what I mean? And that was actually before this. But the cinematography and the choreographing was not as explicit as this.
Yeah, I always have a hard time being sure which direction the influence goes, because it obviously goes back and forth between America and Hong Kong and a lot of other countries.
Yes,
I mean,
Japanese,
Japanese films, really, the Shaw Brothers stuff.
The earlier stuff, definitely. The Wang Yu movies.
Yeah, and not only did they have, I mean, in some cases they actually hired Japanese directors and had them do stuff. But I think the whole notion of the crippled warrior, which is in a lot of movies. I mean, Zatoichi, I think predates all that stuff here. I mean, predates the one-armed swordsman. And
exactly, they had the fight. They had a movie
Zatoichi.
Yeah, I always say Zatachi. That shows you how the hood talk, right? But meets the one-armed swordsman. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I got that
crazy.
one. That's.
They don't really meet, right?
Towards the end. But, there's another guy. What was the other one? It was, I think at one point the one-armed... or Zatoichi met Yojimbo as well, which I haven't seen that one. But
that's the Western, right?
Yeah. But it's interesting because we really don't get, or very rarely get, an equivalent to that in American action films where the hero is overcoming something that severe. I mean, for Rocky, it's like, well, he's a little overage, but
right.
But and the training stuff in Rocky is, I think, much briefer than this. I mean, Rocky's much more concentrating on things outside of that. Yeah.
Well, once he got up to Rocky 4, I think that's when he fought the Russians. Mm-hmm. He really showed. I mean, I think that was Stallone's best training sequences when he went to the ice and went to Russia and he had to go.
Oh, yeah,
that was great training, man. I mean, Mike Tyson should have watched that as his career started falling away, because that intense training was serious.
God, I forgot about that.
This is a unique training right here, to me. This is one of my favorite because I tried this afterwards. I tried to train my eyes. I never knew you could train your eyes. This really inspired me to train my eyes. In fact, my daughter wears glasses, and but before she got glasses, she told me she had a problem with her eyes, and I told her, train your eyes, get a candle and look left, look right, and look close and far, and train your muscles, and then maybe to help your eyes. And she didn't take heed, so and she wears glasses. But I actually trained my eyes for years. I would do it almost every day. You know what I mean? And I'm still 20/20, baby. Wow.
Because, once you already have glasses, it's kind of because, if I look out the side, everything goes out of focus.
Yeah. Once you have it, the light and the magnetism of it. Wow.
Yeah.
And this is the only...
This is great.
This is great, but this is the only thing that does it that didn't make sense to me watching the movie. How did he know how to do that when he didn't learn Kung Fu? So this chamber should have showed itself maybe...
A little later.
A little later, yeah. I would have put this chamber a little later.
I don't know. I mean, I just dig the sequence so much that I never really worried about it, because it's just...
Man, Gordon looks great in this movie, man. He looks like a master. Got that sparkle in your eye.
我主持木里房6年，你是最出色的一个。谢主持栽培。
It's interesting that they had that sort of like boing boing music on his eyes. It's kind of like a toned down version of the thing in King Boxer with a like. Woo,
yeah, right. You're right about that. In this particular chamber, remember you said earlier about how he likes to put comedy in, and this doesn't have belly laughs. But watching this in the theater with people, even when I screened it at the LA Film Festival, and we had a chance to watch it in the subtitle, the audience loved this scene. This is back to the comedy. This fat man with the hand is ridiculous.
Yeah.
站直，双手掏腰，头用劲顶开沙包，到佛祖前上一炷香。是。
No, Liu can't resist having some funny stuff in there. He's a guy I'd really like to meet because I see him in documentaries, and he's like 70 now, and he's got this energy level, this like sort of, you know, shining, sparkling energy when he talks that you just think, you know, this is a guy you want to hang with.
Yeah. He actually did a movie no more than about 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years at most, called Drunken Munkey. I think one of the last Shaw brothers actually produced the movie with him, and it's great.
You know, I missed that. I had seen Drunken Master 3, which he did, which was probably one of his worst, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could tell the production values were really low and stuff.
I think they cut that from B-roll.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. One of those things where you see the walls shaking.
Yeah.
But you know, he's unquestionably still, you know, an amazing character. It's weird that Shaw Brothers, after doing 40 films roughly per year for, you know, basically the heyday of the stuff that we're familiar with, it's like a 20-year stretch where they make, you know, 800 movies or something.
Wow.
And then in, I guess it's 1983 or so, they just said, we're stopping, you know, we're just going to do TV from now on, except every once in a while they
do a movie,
right? I think it was maybe 10 years after they said they were going to stop, they did one or two, and then a couple years later, a couple more. So I don't know if they've done more than a dozen
since then.
And I'm not sure quite what that signifies, that they kind of, like somebody there misses doing feature film production.
Right. This sequence right here was inspiring for me because, you know, they said one of the hardest chambers. They said most people take 2 or 3 years to get through this chamber. Mm-hmm. And when he heard that once he learned this chamber, he could really learn boxing and learn the weapons and the kung fu he'd been looking for, it inspired him. You know what I mean? And look, man. In every movie he used that head since this. You set a new record. And all that was basic skills.
Yeah, really.
Man. When you watch Liu movies, if he does a style, whether it's a monkey, whether it's a toad, whatever, he actually uses the original form of the style. That was important right there for Buddhism, for people who understand the path. He put him in charge of the Dharma house, which means the house of righteousness. So he has the chance to learn kung fu, but also he's taking care of books and libraries now. So he can read now and become spiritually enlightened as he learns.
You know, when we're sort of by this point in the film, I'm really appreciating that he spent all the time setting up that stuff in the first half hour, because one of the main things that distinguishes him from the other students is this absolute determination, you know, that is just 100%. And they went to great lengths to set up why he would be that way. I mean, it's not clear that these other guys,
why they're there. Right? Yeah. We don't know why they're there. They're there because whatever. They're there to be monks, actually. He's there for a different determination. Hey, look at that. You know who that is, of course.
Wait, where are we?
That's Wu Ping's father. Yuen Wu-Ping, the famous director of Kill Bill, the choreographer of Kill Bill, The Matrix.
Yeah. That's
his father.
Right,
Simon,
right. Simon Yuen, who's in Drunken Master, too, yeah.
Even his head is boiled in this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm used to seeing him with a shaggy beard and shaggy hair.
This is the first time I seen this kind of kung fu when I saw this movie, too, whereas it's like arm to arm, hand to hand, like it's just block and grips and
Now, it's always hard for me to tell just how hard they're hitting, because we know that, it's harder to do these, to do these fights than it would be to do a real fight, because you have to pull things, which is, you kick somebody and you have to actually kick 1/8 of an inch from their face without hitting. And the sound effects fake us past a lot of that.
But I can tell you this. I had a chance to do a few videos in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's hard. I had to do a fight scene in one of my videos. And being that I'm not a Asian and I'm not a whatever reason, they don't really like somebody else making movies unless they can fight. They say Bruce Lee got into a lot of fights. When I did my video, the guys that was working with me, they just finished telling me the story of what they did to Van Damme. And so now I'm doing my scene, right? And my arms was aching for a week after we did the scenes. But my arms are pretty strong because as a kid I used to do these kind of training. Mm-hmm. So when I did another scene with a guy from America, my buddy Bokeem Woodbine, he told everybody, yo, RZA might be skinny, but his arms are like iron. Because I was used to doing it like that also. Just when you do it, you want it to look real. So these guys, some of the arm and the blocks, I'm quite sure they put at least 70% of their power to it. And some guys will put 90 to 100% just to show you that they're good and you're nothing.
But so, were you, after you saw this and you saw some other films, were you just imitating moves out of the films, or did you find some place to go train when you were a kid?
Both. I would imitate what I seen. I would make my own little. I made that. I made the thing when you pull your leg. I'll make things in my garage or whatever. I mean, I squeak my hand for iron palm. I used to pound my hand every day. Go to class and go to wood shop. Wood shop or ceramic. You got this thing you cut the tile with. Mm-hmm. My calluses were so hard, and I still got calluses and shit. Wow. You know what I mean? But they were so hard that I suppressed the kids in class. Like hey. I was really fiended out, man. I was fiended out. I like this chamber because this is one of the first chambers that tortures you to learn. He's getting his, what I mean? I love this guy.
Yeah.
That's like you coming through with a big pole right there.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that, of course, you'll have these guys who are clearly supposed to be 30 years older than the students who just can
whip ass. Right? This guy's all noble, right? He's proud of his students. Yeah, I had a pole. As a kid, I had me a so-called Shaolin pole. In a lot of movies, or chain movies, he always had these brass rings or iron rings or wooden rings. We used to go down to Chinatown and get the rings. You know what I mean? We was really fiended out.
Did you have the thing like the vertical pole with the
Wing Chun dummy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Wing Chun dummy as well. I didn't get that until I got about 22, 23 years old. I got me a Wing Chun dummy.
Because I love, there's some great scenes of people, in movies where it's...
I really think Gordon Liu's a good actor. His eyes is, it really shows. I mean, you believe this guy's going through this. You know what I mean?
I think there's some other later ones too, where his eye, where there'll be that super close up of his eyes. Because it's more effective. I mean, he really can do stuff with them.
Let's count the cut. Let's see how many blows before they cut. That was like 8 at least. You're not bad.
It's always I can't really measure how long the shots are when I have to do it on when I'm fast. I'm backing up because otherwise when it's working really well, I mean, you're not going to see it. Of course. So how far do you think we're into the film now? Let's see, we're an hour and 17 minutes.
Now you see what he says. That he's learned it in only years, it said. Right, but in the English dub, it said in 7 years. So it took him 7 years 5 years to learn everything. And now it's going to take him 2 more years to actually leave.
Oh, okay.
Because now he learns it, but can he apply it? And this monk is the one that's saying like he's not good enough to do that. He knows it, but do he know it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's and some of this that I guess that's the sort of the overseer monk who there's some kind of rivalry that's really interesting there. Why he's clearly trying to trip Sante up.
Right. He played that character also in about 10 movies. Mm-hmm. He's the monk that's a traitor, or he's a gangster, or that's his main role. But he's actually a great kung fu fighter as well in many movies.
Yeah, that would be Li Hoi-san.
Yeah, Li Hoi-san is good. I liked him in Magnificent Butcher as the villain. He was great when he did the Cosmic Palm. This is interesting right here. This sequence right here, I remember watching this on the big screen in Manhattan, and the audience just went crazy. The audience actually started rooting for him and thought he was the toughest guy in the world. And to me, you know, as he went through all these chambers, he learned a lot. His physical power was getting there, but I think he learns humility from this teacher alone, because he's determined. And he's also, if you look at some of his faces, he was also egotistic in some of the chambers. Like, he'd get up there and he'll be like, you know, no problem, you know what I mean? And now he's realizing that, you know, he has to have some humility with himself.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, well, you know, it's easy for it to go to your head when you're the guy who's gone through faster.
Right, and he broke the record already. Yeah. So he's the man, he thinks.
And this was his
humbling period.
Comeuppance, yeah.
But his determination just increases. And I don't think his spirituality is peaked out yet. He hasn't reached this. He hasn't, you know, even though he's in charge of the Dharma house and he can read and he can study, I think he's lacking spirituality, because spirituality leads to creativity. And he also learns that, I think, by fighting this monk.
One of the things that, and I'll sort of save this till we get to the point in the film, but it's one of the questions I have about the film. It has to do with when he leaves the monastery. And I'm not sure he's learned all the lessons when he leaves the monastery.
Right.
There's some issues there. And we're actually pretty close to that, so. Do we have a name for that? The weapon he's using?
Yes, it's called sometimes it's called the monk spade or the crescent spade. "18 weapons.
Oh, yeah.
And those are called the butterfly knives.
Right. Yeah, Liu loves to use all these weapons that are real and traditional, and that you don't see in most other movies. I mean, there's that sequence at the beginning of near the beginning of Crouching Tiger. That's a lot of people's favorite sequence in the film, where Michelle Yeoh is just sort of grabbing one different weapon.
Yeah, she actually grabbed the 18 weapons. The 18 weapons are famous in a lot of Liu movies. He actually did a movie called Legendary Weapons of China, where he basically used every 18 weapon in the movie at the fight sequence. So I think that's one thing I appreciate about him being a martial artist, and then sharing his knowledge with the world. Actually, the deer hooks, for instance, man, what a great weapon! That's actually a weapon that they say really found its development in Wu-Tang Mountain, but started in Shaolin, and he still incorporates all this into his films.
I was going to say, he's clearly like really proud of this whole tradition, and wants to showcase it, not, as much as he loves doing it, doing it goofy sometimes and everything else, he really cares.
Yeah, I would say so. I think, now, in my opinion, this is a person who watched this film 100 times and in love with it and think he knows everything about it, of course. Think I'm in the mind of the character. But I think this is where our character learns spirituality and humility and all combined, because creativity comes here.
Mm-hmm.
And when creativity comes in, that means he's able now to take everything he learned and make something out of it. And watch how the monks respond to this. I like how the director, just went right to it and he does this
because
cut.
we just have to see him look at it and then...
What weapon is it? The monks don't even know what it is. A 3-jointed stick invented by himself. That's what it took for him to defeat.
It is a great weapon.
Ooh. Wow, he's even impressed by the power of it. You heard that stab? Mm-hmm. That's the famous kung fu stab. When you see in Kill Bill, when they show Gordon Liu, you hear the stab when they showed him Johnny Mo. It basically was the same concept.
You have some things in that fight scene in Kill Bill that are because you have the flying guillotine thing in there too, that theme. I love Master of the Flying Guillotine, but the production values are just a world lower than this.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as it's a really cool film.
That's one of Quentin's classic favorites. He actually, we both were just pulling mad things. He actually pulled the guillotine one for that. Mm-hmm. There's a film that's very good, but not really widely known as Drunken Munkey. And it goes back to the classic Shaw Brother storyline, and the kung fu is impeccably good, and it actually made stars out of the two young characters who play alongside of him. This part is interesting. He gives them any chamber except the 35th because he hasn't mastered his Buddhism, so his enlightenment is not attained, and he hasn't made up his mind. So now he has to go meditate and think about this. And as he takes all this knowledge he's gained over these years and he comes back with this idea. There's only 35 chamber, there's in the 36. I know, I like to create it. And I always took this as being prophetic. Because this idea is to take this knowledge that they have secluded. It's only about 400 monks. Throughout history, it says it's only been about 400 monks at a time in Shaolin. He wanted to take this information and share it with the world. If he didn't do this, look, they don't involve themselves in worldly affairs. They don't know about what the Mongols is doing to the people. It's not interesting to them. But this affects the handed-down Shaolin martial art to posterity, to share with the youth, for the people. And if you look at anything, even the great religion of Christianity, 12 men. Jesus didn't have 1,000 people. 12 men had to go and spread this throughout the world. You know what I mean? And I just think this is unique, that he has the idea to go and spread the knowledge to the layman. Now, the abbot punishes him for this, right? And it's always been in my opinion, and I think maybe in the directors, I don't know, but it's always been in my opinion that he kicked him out because that's the only way he could do it. And by kicking him out, it takes away the temple being involved. You'll violate our rules. You're forced to leave and go out as a beggar and don't come back till later.
Oh, you see, that sort of answers the question I had about the fact that he goes and does precisely what he's been told not to do.
Right.
That seemed odd for the hero after learning all this stuff.
To go break the rules, right?
But if indeed
abbot,
that was the purpose of throwing him out.
I think the abbot intended that. When you watch a few other stories around based on the same subject, there's one story that we talked about earlier called Shaolin Temple, the Chang Che version, where the movie starts off with the abbot is saying, we have to get more pupils so that the knowledge can expand. And it actually was the students of Sante that became fighting revolutions and fighting for the rebels. And when the army came after them, they retreated back to Shaolin because of Sante. They had that pass. And then the abbot realized that they got to share this knowledge with these young people, or it's going to die, because the Mongols or the Tartars were getting so aggressive, so vicious, that they basically was strictly oppressing the Han culture, like the Cultural Revolution, for instance. In China, the Shaolin Temple has been burned 3 times in history, and it's because the government is like, it's a threat to our rule. Their knowledge and their information is a threat. You know what I mean? And here goes Hung Si Quan here. You know what I mean? As far as a historical character. You talked earlier about Return to the 36 Chambers being a comedy, but the one thing about it that they try to use historical was, in that movie, the lead character, he didn't go to Shaolin. He went to the 36th chamber. The chamber that Sante had started off, where Sante was the abbot. You know what I mean?
And of course, it all starts because he looks enough like Sante to pass for him, because it's Gordon Liu playing the part, which was kind of, like a funny bit outside of the film.
Yeah.
But that film, as funny as it is, it has fighting, I think, just as good as this.
Oh, better, even. Some of the fighting was even better, because they had more bigger budgets, more advanced knowledge. Scram, bloody monk. That's a kung fu film there. You're that rebel. Let's see if the monk kills anybody here.
Another, again, relatively long shots, tons of moves without cutting.
Yeah, just shows that everybody involved have talent. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
Man.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's...
And nowadays, it's really only 4. It's 4 and cut, 4 and cut, 4 and cut. There go the wrist thing coming into play now. There go the eyes coming into play. I like that, how the director made it all count. So you said you timed this movie into certain parts. You timed the intro to the story, then you've seen them training for a certain period of time. And now, to me, this is where the Kung Fu movie starts. And what you would say?
Well, I mean, this is we get this payoff section where we've, very well established all these things he's learned, and that there's really a whole lot of them in that middle section of the film. And now we get to see how they're really useful out in the real world and how they can be applied.
Even Buddha has to conquer evil. A monk should not kill. In the American version, they just show that one cut and he dies. But this what happens in the real version.
Oh, they took that out?
Yeah, took it out. Amitabha. Look at that. They didn't show that in the American version. Well, I remember the first time I seen like the extended version of this. It made the whole, it enhanced my experience because like I seen the film maybe 20 times before I seen extra footage of things like this. You know what I mean? And then when I got the new Shaw Brothers release of all, digitally remastered version, man, it's like, it's, you even see things that you couldn't see in the old film, the clarity.
It's night and day to make sure, you're getting the full screen, which always got shaved a little bit, if not totally.
Exactly.
And, in a shot like this, you would have to cut back and forth between the two of them. You couldn't hold it in one shot.
You had to do this thing, pan across.
Yeah, which is just really disruptive. And now this music, I think this music is from an American film, but I can't place it. But
now, the interesting thing about this character here, right, in the scheme of Shaw Brothers and Shaolin's story, is that he's actually, in the history, he's known to be half Han and half Mongoloid.
Ah.
And he became known as the Shaolin Hercules because of his incredible strength. And I like how in this film they got him started as a blacksmith, to justify his strength in history. In every movie, they always got a way of showing them, Chang Che did a movie called Two Champions from Shaolin, which is basically his story. You know what I mean? And so they do that sometimes. They take a couple of, they take the same story and then build a whole story around that one character. And I think Chang Che actually did a great job with it. He featured Lo Mang as the lead character. And it actually was in fact, House of Flying Daggers took some of the blade movements from that movie. If you don't get a chance to see that, Two Champions of Shaolin.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
One of these guys here went on later to be a famous actor in many of the Joseph Cole movies. This is interesting here. Now, they didn't say what he said there, but in English they said it. He said, shorten up your grip.
They say which?
In English, it's the abbot told him to shorten up his grip. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
And it used same thing they told him. When he was doing the wrist.
And it's like a perfect lesson of where sort of the mind is more important than the brute strength involved. Yeah,
exactly. What you think about the set of the town?
What about the set?
Actually, as a film critic, what do you think about the set, dude?
Oh, I mean, I love. Well, this actually, I don't remember this particular backdrop that well but they've got that Shaw Brothers village that's just beautiful, and the fact that they were trying to shoot as much of this stuff in studio, really not going out to real locations, and some a fair number of fake backdrops, so you don't get things looking really faked up here, I don't think. But
I think they did a great job here too. He also became a famous actor, the Bastard Sportsman. He actually played in the 90s film starring Michelle Yeoh called Wing Chun.
Oh, I love that movie.
But this is the villain.
Okay, I've seen that. Norman Choi, I love him. Yeah. He in Wing Chun, he has his famous cotton belly.
Yeah, cotton belly.
Which is, just so outrageous.
Yep.
And he also does a really good evil laugh when he wants to.
It's actually, my Sifu says that when you practice Kung Fu, you must be able to become soft as cotton and hard as steel at will. So you have to learn this cotton belly, and you have to learn the iron body. So those are actually styles that's in Shaolin, but of course in the movies they take it to the they take it to the exaggeration level. But that's part of the White Lotus, for instance. The White Eyebrow, his style was more of a cotton style. Internal. Whereas Hung Si Kwang, who was the guy who supposedly had killed him, and Fang Si Yu, they supposed to have combined together to kill him with the Tiger Crane. it took the hard style of the tiger and the flexible style of the crane to be able to grab that cotton or to affect that cotton. It's interesting.
And Norman Choi was probably in more of my favorite 90s films, early 90s films, late 80s, and generally he's a lead in We're Going to Eat You, which is a pretty outrageous film.
I didn't see that one.
It's really broad. It's a Choi Hark film it's like his second or third film, and it's about cannibals. And
it's before Ghost Stories?
Yeah, it's like about 81 or 82, I think.
Okay.
And but he, he was in The Sword, which I loved.
Yeah, definitely. They killed the sword. I love the Bastard Swordsman 1 and 2. Hey, this guy here, remember they did it in part? They did it in return. Let's see how he just did. Look, that's a few feet, but in return he did a full split.
Wow.
That's what's interesting. When they did part 2, they took some of the same stunts, but they elaborated on them. That goes back to the director having that foresight to make his training sequences still make sense to his choreographing. Very perceptive and very good direction.
Yeah, and I think that, he's probably thinking ahead to the fight scene, and that's why there are chambers we don't see, because they're not the ones that Lau thought he was going to be using for the payoff.
One thing we notice as he's going through the town, you see he's picking up new men or new characters. In a lot of martial art films, you always see the hero or the old man recruiting students here and there. But I think what they was doing in this one, right, which is unique, is that, there are 5 men who's known as the 5 Shaolin Masters that helped spread this culture after the temple was burnt. And they are introducing each one of these characters in this movie. Even though it's all in 5 minutes, each one of these characters have a famous meaning to the history of Shaolin. Hong Si Kwang, Hu Wei Che, the Shaolin Hercules we met earlier, the blacksmith guy, Ta Quinn. I forgot to pronounce his name. That's one thing I was always bad at, was pronouncing their names.
You can remember them, which is better than I can do.
But
so this is all the recruitment of the real disciples.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Oh, there's that nice village again.
Oh, this is Wang Yu here. Wang Yu.
The other Wang Yu.
Yeah, the other Wang Yu. Yeah, he's did a lot of comedy movies. And he's always been funny in the comedian relief in movies to me. But he also did a few great kung fu movies. I think one of the best ones that them two did together was a film called Dirty Ho. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah,
that was a great one with those two guys together.
Yeah, that one I've only seen dubbed. I haven't seen a subtitled version of that yet.
They released a subtitle recently. They actually released a subtitle of Spearman also, and a few good ones recently. And you know what I like about Shaw Brothers? I like about it. And I remember one time talking to my buddy Quentin, right? Which he didn't like, actually. The fact that some of these movies are so quickly produced like a cookie factory because of the studio setting. Now I understand why, because he's against digital versus doing the real thing. So
he's going to come around at some point.
He's a master at what he do, so he doesn't have to come around. But I will say, for me, a studio setting really allows you, to just do it all quick, do it efficiently. To have all these actors that when the audience see that actor again, even if it's only in a 10-minute role, it's familiarity, it's comfortability with the faces. So I think, just like Warner Brothers Studios and all the great studios we have here at Paramount, I think the most coolest thing is to have a studio and shoot and have a controlled atmosphere.
Well, yeah, I mean, they modeled this after the model of the 30s and 40s American studios where, you had your contract actors, you had every, technicians at every level of the production. So you know, you could get the rough cut done just 30 feet down the street, and you know, the sound mix is another 30 feet over that way, and it's clearly a really efficient way to make things. But if you have, you know, if your distribution outlets dry up a little bit, then suddenly you're stuck with like all these people, and it can go very quickly from being efficient to being really too costly. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's also the aesthetic. Besides the fact of the familiarity, I mean, the way you recognize people here, it's like, again, you watch 30s Warner Brothers movies and you see all those same character actors,
right? And
so they walk on screen and you already kind of know who that character is because they've played it before.
I think it's kind of obvious now, you know, as I'm older, that Shaw Brothers definitely made their company after Warner Brothers, Shaw Brothers. They have the Shield logo.
Yeah, very similar.
They have the Shield logo. WB. SB.
Yeah, I hadn't actually. You're right, because that logo is the real tip-off. Yeah,
very, very similar. So, but one thing I would notice if you watch a lot of other martial art films from this era, the reason why they don't stand the test of time, I think, is because of their production being somewhere shot out in some small village, and the lighting not being totally controlled. And then if these movies are made on the studio, it looks like this movie could have been done 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's also, because I like it when it sometimes looks artificial deliberately. I mean, One-Armed Swordsman has got some that.
Puts you in his own world.
Mm-hmm. And it's all because everything is controlled, and that's why when I go see something like, to use the same example again, Master of the Flying Guillotine, which is almost all shot in exteriors that are, you know, were not built for the film or barely built at all, and you can tell that they're trying not to use lighting, you know, that they're trying to do everything in daytime.
Try to save money, yeah.
Yeah. It really does show.
Here's another example of him not... Let's see if he kills anybody. Now, I used to watch this film a lot with ODB, right? My cousin. And we both said that Master Killer is the best kung fu fighter for two reasons. One, his ability to fight and move out of danger at the same time. This sequence here shows it. One of the most, look, out, still got a target. He has a direct target who's the villain. Move.
And that was like 20 seconds of stuff without a cut too. Jesus.
And Lockhart, look at that move. Oh, the head hit. Too strong for him. He's one of the only actors that to me that I see fight a lot of men and look like he's actually getting away from them and doing everything he's supposed to be doing.
Right, rather than that thing where you can see everybody in the back.
Like waiting, right. Yeah. Look.
Well, he's so fast, and the fact that they can, because they can shoot this stuff in these relatively long takes like that.
Exactly.
Because Gordon can
that was
remember
a long
all
one right
that.
there. That was a long one. Right? Look at that duck hit. Still didn't kill nobody.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh no, you don't. Their spears did that. Ooh. He didn't kill him.
Cool.
So I mean, so he actually didn't kill Not one person in this film yet.
He facilitates them finding ways to die.
Exactly.
Is more like what it is.
So you don't have to have that guilt that, you know, and he keeps his righteousness.
每天一大早啊就把老子吵醒了，烦死了。
哎，冲米六，你静一点好不好？
哎，我叫冲米六，怎么可以静啊？
Now, even though this is a set, you know, in a studio, it still feels like it's in an epic place. You know what I mean? Just the different rooms and how they, you know, it still feels like it's a whole epic place going on there.
Well, you know, they created this whole physical world there. That's both the sets, the costumes, all that stuff that really, you know, definitely have you in a, you know, put you in period and.
Right.
亲自带队搜查，就算追到少林寺，我要把他给抓回来。
See, his ego got him right there. You know, he's ready to go to Shaolin. You know, it's like he's going to mess with monks now. He has no mercy, and that's usually when Buddha gets you, right?
Right. He scowls so nicely.
Yeah, man. You know, another important thing about these films is the wigs, the hair and the wigs. The wigs is very important because, you know, like the whoever's doing hair and makeup, it's like that's a very important job because they don't look. You know, you see some of the other lower produced films, you could tell it's a wig. You could tell the hair is cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And hair is like it looks almost as if it's their hair for real. I mean, look at Lola. He looks great like that. Classic. Did a good art of war stratagem there, right? Lead him away from his camp. Now this scene right here, to me, I think the director went back to the kung fu movies that was being done independently, which is the open outside fight.
See, I don't know whether this actually
is the
they
back
had
lot
an area in the back lot or not.
You're right about that, but I wouldn't doubt that this is definitely the most traditional kung fu movie outside fight in the grass fight that was going on around this era.
Yeah, because that is not a backdrop. That's the real world. Open up that weapon. There we go. Yeah. Because this weapon has to be the payoff.
Cool.
Another long shot here.
Two broad swords. There's so much action. You can watch the good guy or the bad guy and still get pleased. You like that, huh? That was the poster, baby.
All this stuff is a tribute to the sound editors too. I mean,
man,
it's like so.
That's something that I remember listening to listening to Quentin on Kill Bill, and it was like he was so meticulous about his sound.
God, I wonder how long it takes to shoot a fight like this, even with these guys who are masters, you know.
It could take up to 2 days. It's a great shot. Twice. Like the idea how he throws him with his wrists. His face is all red. Now you can see a little bit of the hair messing up.
We get the freeze frame. Yep.
He used all his chamber. He learned it and he put it to use.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him develop every one of those things he uses. Learn all those lessons. I got to say, the cleverness. One of the things that really made me love this stuff was that in American action films, certainly prior to 10 years ago, a fight was sort of just a fight. Generally, it was just like, okay, guys slug each other and that's it. And always, even in the cheapest of these movies, so much energy is putting into making the fight sort of, beautiful to watch and clever, where everything you can see why it's happening the way it is.
That's true. Even to this moment here where he has a guy way down at the bottom of the line and he instructs the class to do a move that's going to hit him and put him in order. You've been listening to
Andy Klein, film editor of Los Angeles City Beat.
And the RZA, Abbott of the Wu-Tang Clan. And it's great talking to you and enjoying. I've seen this film with a lot of people and I enjoy watching it with you, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Man, that was great.
That's right.